have a very special guest, my friend Michelle Medlock Adams.
Be encouraging to your children. Let them know that you love them unconditionally and that no matter what, no matter if they fail or succeed, that you're in their corner.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today I have a very special guest, my friend Michelle Medlock Adams. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. I had to catch her after a banquet, and that's why she's
We're
all
a little
dolled
guessy
up.
Yeah.
So,
It's a little dressy.
yeah, so it's really nice to have her. But we're going to be talking about, this is our Mother's Day special, so mothers like to be gussied up, so it makes
That's
sense.
exactly right, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So you have, you're the author of how many books now? I mean, it's so many.
Over 60, yeah.
Over 60
Yeah.
books, and a lot of those are for children.
Many of them are for children.
And are some for parents?
Many are for moms. Yes, I do
Yeah.
devotionals for moms and humor books for moms.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we thought would be good to talk about today is the fear that children often will have and how moms can help them deal with that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. In fact, I wrote a children's book called I Will Not Be Afraid right after 9/11. My girls were little. I have two daughters, Abby and Allison. They're 19 and 21 now, but back then they were little girls. And, with our jobs as writers, we travel a lot. I speak at conferences and things like that. And so they were so terrified for me to get on a plane. We were living in Fort Worth at the time. And they just were really afraid for mommy to get on a plane. And so I began to find scriptures about fear. And then I would say them with the girls each night. That God didn't give us a spirit of fear. And so we would go through all that, and it really started to help them. And so I thought, it's probably not just my kids that are afraid right now. There are lots of kids that are facing fears, especially those who lost parents and things. So I wrote a children's book based on scriptures, and each of the spreads, I wish I had it with me, but I'll send you one. But each of the spreads addresses a different fear that children have. Some are afraid of dogs. Some are afraid of the dark. I had a daughter that was afraid of the dark. Did you ever have a child?
Oh, yes.
Oh, and storms. Some are afraid of storms. They climb in my bed, at night. Also meeting new people. Sometimes children are afraid to meet new people. They hide behind your skirt or whatever. That happened as well. And then just afraid of war. Children hear more than what we think they hear. And even if we kind of shelter them from some of the news, they're going to hear it at school, they're going to hear it. So there are lots of fears that our children have, and I try to address all of those fears. One's even about getting on stage, in the Christmas pageants and things. I remember having to bribe my daughter, if you'll just go say your lines, if you'll just do it for mommy. And so I address all of those fears, and each one of those, it's all done in rhyme. I like to rhyme. Most of my children's books are rhyming. It's with Concordia Publishing House. I will not be afraid. But at the end of each of the spreads where it talks about the different fears, it'll say, I will not be afraid at all. That's the declaration. And the kids who read that, they get that. I will not be afraid at all. It becomes their empowerment statement, their declaration. And they can, the word doesn't return void. So I've heard so many testimonies. This book that I wrote for my kids in 9/11, right after 9/11, is continuing to minister all these years later. When a tragedy happens in the nation, such as what happened in Newtown with Sandy Hook School over a year ago now, they sent lots of copies of my books to that community because of the shooting that happened there.
Right.
And so many of the kids that weren't victims but knew friends that were, they were afraid to go back to school. They were afraid of what could happen, the what ifs. And parents were afraid. It was a horrible time in our nation to think that could happen. And so that book, it's amazing that the book I wrote for my children's fears, that God can take something and use it many years later for it's those same fears because that fear is very real and
universal.
And universal. And it doesn't matter how old you are, parents,
Right.
kids, or whatever, we all feel it and we all struggle with it. But the word works every time. And so as the children get the word in them at a young age, it just sets that foundation that fear will never be, even if it comes upon them, they've got the word to fight it. I won't be afraid at all. God didn't give me a spirit of fear. I can triumph over this. And so it empowers the kids to know that no matter what happens, because bad things are going to happen in this world until we get to heaven, I don't have to be afraid. God's got me. God's got this. He's got me in the palm of his hand. And I'm telling you, it transformed how our bedtime ritual got much easier with my girls back then. And I'm hearing from other people in the nation that it's helping with their children. So I'm so thankful that I was obedient to write that book. That's one time when I didn't have delayed obedience. I actually wrote the book when God told me to. You know how that is. And it's just been a real blessing, not just to my kids, but to other kids. So I think if we can help our kids early on know how to pray, know how to take those scriptures and say them and make them their own, they can just handle anything.
Well, you also have at least one book on prayer for children, don't you?
I do, and there's even a section there on fear, because I'm a big proponent of let's fight this fear thing. It's called My Big Book of Prayers. It was put out with Ideals children's books, and in fact, it won at Blue Ridge the Selah Award last year. I was very excited about that. Way to go! And it's not because it's just because it's something they're prayers that everybody say, like the mealtime prayers, prayer when you go to bed at night, prayer if you're not feeling too good, prayer when you're angry, prayer when you're sad, prayer if you've lost something, prayer for our soldiers. I want our kids to know that we need to be praying for our president and for our nation and for our men and women in uniform.
Which is scriptural.
It is, absolutely, yeah. God says he calls us people to pray, and each one of these, same thing. We even have a lift a flap section in this book, which kids like, right?
Yeah.
So it's a prayer, and then you lift it up, and it's got the scripture that the prayer is based on. Because I wanted to make sure it wasn't just my words, but these prayers were based on the word. Because I know I might mess up, but the word never messes up.
That's
so
right.
all these are scripturally based prayers, and so there's prayers for your mom and dad, prayers for your grandparents. I mean, it's just a nice way to introduce prayer to your children. Yeah. We gave a copy to a man that manages my daughter's apartment complex. One of my daughters, she's grown up now, she's 19. And I saw him just the other day when I was out moving her into another apartment. He said, we use that every night.
Oh,
and his daughter's just
wonderful.
a few months. He said, even a few months old, we're reading these prayers to her. He said, I really like that book. I don't even know if they're believers or not, but isn't it interesting that it was okay for him to be able to read it to his daughter? I thought, thank you, Lord.
Exactly, and she's getting the word.
Yeah, at 3 and 4 months old.
That's
I don't know, it goes in there, so.
Yeah. Oh, I read to my daughter really early, like a month old. I just started, because they like the rhythm of the words, too.
Absolutely, and it's that cuddle time when you're holding them. And I know I read to mine when they were in my belly. As soon as I read and what to expect and you're expecting that they could hear, I'm like, I'm all over it. As writers, that's what we do, right? We read, we write, we like to do. I love to read. I love to read myself. I love my kids to read. And if you start them reading at a young age, they'll continue to love that.
That's right, especially if you read good books.
Yes, good. And there's so many good books out there.
Yeah.
Your books are good. I mean, it's just really good, those faith-filled books. I think at a young age, if you can get them to fall in love with the Word of God, and it doesn't have to be boring. We can make it fun for them. We can make them realize the importance of it, but still make it fun. Rhyme helps with that.
Yeah, it does, especially for young children.
I agree.
So, what other books do you have that mothers might find helpful?
Well,
since we're focusing on moms
happy
today.
Mother's Day, everybody. It's such a blessed time for us. I love it the day that we get honored and they give us flowers at church and they take us out to eat. I don't have to cook. Not that I don't really cook that often, let's be honest, but that day I definitely don't. So I love Mother's Day. But I have a book called Daily Wisdom for Mothers that I did for Barbara as my girls were growing up, and so it's just a fun thing. I learned to parent my girls as God parented me, and so each of the different sections each month, there's 365 days of devotions. One month is about relying on God, and another month is about discipline, and another month is about encouraging yourself as you're a mom. Sometimes we really beat ourselves up. Each month is a different theme. Well, that book, they reprinted it, and now it's called Encouraging Words from Others, which I thought was even more appropriate. Right. And it was just re-released this fall. So that would be I'm really glad that got another life. And then I also have a book called Little Blessings from a Big God that's specifically for mothers. And it's a humor book because I'm silly. And I have made a lot of mistakes as parents.
Is that the one with the children in the bathtub on the cover?
Yes, it's the one with the rubber duckies and the kids in the bathtub. That is the one.
Okay.
And where I shared stories of when my daughter Allison cut her bangs with the scissors to the quick, right before preschool pictures. Of course, it had to be before preschool pictures. And then she blamed it on our dog, our dachshund Miller, which I was pretty sure he didn't do it. So, there's a lot of funny stories. But in each of those stories, as I would be disciplining them and asking why, I would just hear God's still small voice say, I don't know why you're surprised. You do the same kind of stuff to me, whenever. And one of my other favorite stories is, Allison was my corker. They had this dress up like your favorite person that you want to be at preschool, and so I was sure she'd pick me. I mean, I'd earned the right to be her favorite person. I had stretch marks because of her, I'd earned the right. And she chose our dog, our little dachshund. I'm like, you cannot choose a dog as your favorite person. And she just booed, I want to choose our dog. So I made that stupid dog costume, and I did her little black nose, and I was really grumbling in my spirit as I drove her to preschool that day. And all the other little girls are walking with their moms carrying little briefcases and, little house dresses, all dressed like their mother, of course. Not mine, mine's a dog. And so as I get up there, one of the other moms kind of laughs to herself. She's like, oh, and who are you supposed to be? And she's like, I'm my dog. And she named the dog and all that, and I'm just like humiliated. I'm just so upset. And at that time, it just melted my heart. She said, and my mommy's the best mommy in the whole world because she made my costume. And I thought, oh, and that little black nose I painted just rubbed up against me and gave me a big kiss. And I thought, okay, life's not too bad after all. And she went inside, and I was in the car, and I was like, wow, God, I was really, really upset about that. And he said, I'm surprised that you're surprised that she acted that way, because you do to me that way all the time. You ignore me, you don't honor me. I got a real whipping in the car on the way home from the Lord. I'm like, it's been a hard enough morning, but I just was really attentive to his voice. And so as I parented my kids, I got parented, and I really learned how to be a better mom and a better Christian and a better daughter and a better wife. And so it's a humor book, all based on all the things I did wrong. And my kids, they were porkers. They really were. I'm surprised I'm not completely gray at this point.
So what encouragement would you give to moms who might be a little bit discouraged right now?
Hang in there. It gets better. I think, the biggest thing that I hear from people who read my devotional, they'll say, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one that on days got up and said, I don't want to do this today. I would feel guilty for thinking, so many people can have children, and I had two beautiful little girls, but there were days I got up and I thought, I haven't had a shower in 2 days. Could somebody just take them for a little bit? I had them back to back. They were just 20 minutes apart. The day I zipped my jeans comfortably, I was pregnant again. It was like, are you kidding me? This was not the plan. It was the plan. I just didn't know it. And I think the moms who say to me, as I read your devotional and you'd say the things that I was thinking, but I just didn't have the guts to say, I felt so much better. I thought, I'm not the only crud ball. There are other people who feel like this. So thank you for being so blatantly honest and knowing that, we're all in this together. It's a sisterhood. We're here for each other. And so just hang in there. It's like God's got this. The things that seem like huge things, they aren't. God, it may take you by surprise. It never takes God by surprise. So on those days when you think you can't do it, you can do it. God called you to do it. You can do it. And I just think it's really nice to have those people in your life to be your rah-rah cheerleaders. The day that you just think, I can't do it anymore, call that best friend. Hopefully she's having a good day. You both can have an off day at the same time to say, you can do this. How can I pray for you? That'll go a long way. And just give yourself a break. We're not called to be perfect. God knows that we're not perfect. He made us. I think I kept trying to be the Martha Stewart, and I wanted to make the cake from the 17 layers and make it look like a Disney princess. I couldn't do it. And so I ended up buying mine, with the plastic top on it that I got from Walmart. And that was okay. My girls didn't suffer. I felt bad, but they didn't know any different. So give yourself a break. If you're not Martha Stewart, that's okay. God can use us too. So
Okay. And how about mothers who are single?
And boy, do I honor you. I had one of my really good friends. She's married now, but she was a single mom for many years. And being both parents, I don't know how she did it, because it takes both Jeff and I to share the responsibilities. I would feel like a single mom from January to April, because he's a CPA, and during tax season, he was never home. He worked, I wouldn't even see him. He'd come home, I'd be asleep, he'd leave before I got up. And I remember doing just those months, I would be so upset doing everything by myself. And I thought, wow, I shouldn't be complaining. This is just for a season for me. Some people live like this. They have to do this. So I honor you. And, the word says that God will be your husband and he will be the father to your children. And if you don't have that. And so just rely on him. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid. There are programs within the church to help you. And don't be afraid to say to somebody, can you take my kids for just like 3 hours? If I can just go to the supermarket by myself, like that's a treat, Yeah, and so I honor you and just know that you're not judged, that we bless you, we appreciate you, and we know that you have a hard journey. I so respect my friend, and she does have a husband now, and they have a blended family, but it hasn't been easy for her, but she wouldn't trade it. And her girls, they will rise up and call you blessed someday. I know that seems like that's not going to happen, but they will. The word says that'll happen. So,
can you tell us anything else that is appropriate for Mother's Day based on your experiences as a mom and your writing and your just everything that you've been through in the last several years? You're a journalist. You've done all kinds of things. So,
I think Mother's Day, it makes not only do I think of my children, but I think of my mom. My mom has gone to heaven now, and she left this earth in 2006. And I think when I think about Mother's Day and what it means to us as a community and individually, I always have to smile. I think back about I was raised in a Christian home, and how my mom Mary in Medlock, how she was a spitfire and she was a sports fan, and she was that mom that she wasn't June Cleaver by any stretch of imagination. She couldn't cook either. That's where I got my skill. But she loved me unconditionally. And I knew that no matter what happened in life, if I made wrong decisions, if I won the race, or if I finished last, that she would be my biggest supporter. That's just who she was. And I always knew that she was proud of me, no matter what she told me all the time. But because of that, I was able to pursue my dreams and really go after being a writer and things that, my guidance counselor said nobody makes it as a writer. Do you have a plan B? That's what my guidance counselor said to me in high school. I'm like, I don't have a plan B. So do I need a plan B? I didn't know I had to have a plan B. My mom said, you don't need a plan B. I always had that support from her, and I think as I look back on what a wonderful mom she was, I want to be that for my girls, even as they're adults now. This is our first year of empty nesting. Very strange to not have them in the house, no more proms or any of that, and to see them grow into the women of God that we always hoped they'd be, and that someday they'll have kids and I'll have grandkids, and the legacy of love continues. I always want to be that encouragement to them that my mom was for me. So I just think the message I would like to say is just, that's why that encouraging words from others is appropriate that I have. Be encouraging to your children. Let them know that you love them unconditionally, and that no matter what, no matter if they fail or succeed, that you're in their corner. And so many people don't have that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have children on Mother's Day, or if your mom's gone to heaven and it's a sad day, then bless somebody else's kids. Bless somebody else. Bless somebody else who never had children. A lot of people have what they call like mothers. She's like a mother to me, and they even have Hallmark cards for that now.
Yeah.
It's become its own little area in the store. So bless somebody else who's maybe been like a mother to you. I think a written card goes a long way. We do emails and texts and stuff. Write them a lovely note and just let them know what they've meant to you in your life. I know I save all my written notes. I have some from you. I save them on my little encouragement drawer that I have. So on those days when I get 15 rejection letters, I go, well, this person likes me. I can pull them out. So I think it's good to have one of those, especially for moms.
Yeah, definitely. Well, where can people find you online?
You can't miss me. I'm everywhere. I'm on Facebook, and so friend me on Facebook, Michelle Medlock Adams. And then I have Twitter, and I also have Instagram. I'm Indiana IN Writer Girl. That's who I am, because I live in Indiana.
So it's IN Writer Girl?
IN Writer Girl. And on Twitter and on Instagram. And then I'm also blogging for Guideposts. Okay. So I have a kind of a humor column, and it's for moms. Women in general, but you can find me there. That's going to start, it'll be now for like a year. I'm contracted, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's called Deadlines, Grocery Lines, and Laugh Lines. That's the name of I have all those, so that's the name
all
of it.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you for having me. I love you.
I love you too.
Happy Mother's Day.